It's a sport that can be played on tabletops across the country, and it can make a humble finger like this worth up to £50,000. It's Sabutio table soccer. But our investigations have shown that Sabutio, with 5 million players in more than 50 countries, is often not the innocent pastime it claims to be. At this year's English Junior Championships at White Hart Lane in London, we witnessed the abuse of several cans of furniture polish and amputation. We spoke to a referee who asked not to be identified. Trevor Spencer is not his real name.
We've had many scandals which really have shocked us at Sabutio, rocked the roots back to 47. I've had players who've turned up to tournaments with weighted teams where they've actually doctored the figures to give a little bit more weight. It's done in several ways. They've added candle wax, sand, extra washer, and we've had players kidnapping goalkeepers. In the European Championships in Brussels in May, the Italian supporters at the half-time in England, the Scotland versus Italy match, they stole a goalkeeper.
Amazingly, one of the most recent scandals to blight the game has been officially sanctioned by Sabutio's world governing body, FIFA, and is now an accepted practice at most major tournaments. It involves spraying players' bottoms with furniture polish, but many consider it to be nothing more than blatant solvent abuse.
The Italians in 1980 turned up with tins of furniture polish. They'd all gone up to the mum's underneath the kitchen sink and came out with Mr. Sheen. And the officials at the time didn't know what was going on. They were polishing the base of the figure to give it an extra bit of glide and control.
Even top players are not immune to the corruption that riddles the game. Last year's junior English champion, Jason Cook, learned the hard way that cheating doesn't always pay.
I turned up at a tournament which was run by Waddington's with a full snail, and I was not allowed to take part in it. They gave me advice to go to a manicurist and actually see how long it takes to grow a nail, and I've done that. As you see, I've got one now.
Jason is now committed to restoring the good name of the sport. As a Sabutio player, he has won 3 England caps and turned his humble 5-inch appendage into his most valuable asset.
Well, Waddington's, every time a player goes to represent their country, they insure the finger, which is here now, for £50,000. If I lost my fingernail, and a really good example was the 1986 World Cup, when the Italian champion broke his fingernail, and that cost him the World Cup. So if I broke mine, that would probably cost me tournaments that I actually played in.
Jason is now determined to stay on the straight and narrow and hopes eventually to represent his country in the 1990 World Cup.
If you're a good player, like you're born with it really, like Diego Maradona's born as a true footballer, he doesn't boast about it. He knows he's good.
But the most sickening tactic to rear its ugly head in recent years has outraged even the most hardened spectators. Some viewers may find the following scenes disturbing.
We've had players to try and improve the swerve of the figures to get round the bends. They believe that if you chop the arm off, or the arms, it will shift the weight down to the centre of gravity will move down towards the base, and try and swerve it round. Well, that's illegal because you don't have Brian Robson turning up with one arm, although he did in the World Cup in '86, of course.
We investigated Trevor's claims by taking a hidden camera to this year's English Championships. We were shocked to discover that at least one player had resorted to amputation. But what are the pressures that drive these young sportsmen to such extreme tactics? David Matthews was runner-up in last season's National Sabutio League.
A lot of them retire at 16, where you suddenly get the pressures of, say, you want to start getting a girlfriend and you go into the disco and whatever, and say some girl you just met turns to you and say, can we go out tomorrow? And you're saying, no, I'm going off to play Sabutio. Because it's got that toy image, which is unfortunate, but the toy company owns the marketing and manufacturing rights of the product. Because it's got that toy image, it's difficult for a lot of adolescents to live with.
These pressures are likely to get even worse as players push for greater recognition.
The players themselves on the senior level are putting so much effort into the game, they want it to become a professional circuit. They want to have tournaments like the golf players, the squash players around the world. They want to see it on television.